free on that asphalt lane. 4 wide a ton a day, they ain't holding no chain.
Gordon front back comfort, can't wait to get Benny. Bars and umbrella song box, paper is down the team.
4 cars side by side in a wild thrill ride, with the roar of the engines leaving all doubts behind. As the wheels spin on, chasing dreams we can't hide. That's car life where legends never die.
Welcome everyone to the 4 Wide Podcast. This is a little bit different setup today. Doggo in the corner. Little Daisy May just chilling there. And it's during the daytime. Usually we record these around 9 p.m. ST. And, well, Blake had his babies. Him and Hope both had their babies, so congratulations to them. And given that, there's going to be a lot of duties and stuff that come along with that, as most people that have kids know. So Blake will be probably MIA for a lot of the podcast. However, he does send me a little bit of text to talk about what he thought about the race. But I mean, honestly, most of the time, me and his thoughts align a lot, especially these days when it comes to the racing for the next gen car. But welcome back. We're going to recap the fantastic racing at Phoenix this weekend. It was a phenomenal 2 days of racing in regards to the O'Reilly and the Cup Series. ARCA did a racing event as well, but of course, as always, it's not usually universally broadcast, and you had to find it, yada yada yada. Regardless of that, we usually only cover the main series just to save time most of the time. We will start with the O'Reilly Series race. A guy that won Phoenix, I believe, a couple of times before, Mr. Justin Allgaier, ended up ragging away with the trophy at the end of the day, but it was not a dominant Justin Allgaier performance, not one that we're used to seeing there. I mean, in all honesty, Justin Allgaier usually is one of the guys, when you go to Phoenix, you're like, this guy has a good shot. Most definitely has a good shot to win this race. And, well, it just came around to the end of the race. He got the car that he needed. He got the track position perfectly set up for him, and he was able to nail home that win, the first win of the year for him, the second for JRM. Obviously, they won at COTA last weekend with the SVG start in that number 9 safety culture car. So 2 wins for them, starting off really well for the season. Obviously, they have a big obstacle to repeat when it comes to repeating what they did last year with how many wins they got collectively as an organization. Plus, I wouldn't say the depth is not nearly as there, because they still had these Cup drivers coming down like a Zilich. You got Ross, you got SVG. Quapple, I feel like he's just right there at that turning point. We obviously seen him compete in the mid race of Phoenix. I think he's a phenomenal talent. I don't think there's anybody that would argue that. I think Raja is definitely a phenomenal talent, and I know Hendrick's looking to get him to the Cup level as soon as possible. I mean, just the depth that they have at JRM never ceases to amaze me year after year. When you look at a place like JGR, and this is no discredit to people like Taylor Gray or Brandon Jones, but just the depth that they bring rather than JGR bringing, like, Christopher Bale down for a couple races. You don't see that a lot. So I think it's one of those things that's really hard to compete with. I really do. But at the end of the day, Justin Allgaier ended up winning this race. It's a good start for him, especially as probably what you would think is the championship favorite this year, given that Zilich has moved on and there's no one that's really shown up. I mean, obviously, Austin Hill shows up at the plate tracks and the road course races, but once it gets to the ovals, I won't say their performance tailors off by any means. I think overall, I think RCR has probably one of the strongest O'Reilly Series programs universally. Given that I think that, well, not given that the majority of the racing in NASCAR is on oval tracks, I think JRM usually nails them down really well, especially in regards to the short tracks and these miles and a half. Yeah, I wasn't necessarily surprised to see Justin Allgaier walk away with the win, but he only led 11 laps, right? So, I mean, it's not like he sat there and dominated the race. That would go to someone named Jesse Love. Jesse Love, and me and Blake have talked about this, I think he is my driver since Matt DiBenedetto's not full-time in the Cup Series this year, or the O'Reilly Series this year. I had to choose a different driver, and I was like, well, it's between probably Allgaier and Jesse Love, and I love Allgaier. I obviously think he's the favorite, but and it's not because Jesse Love won the championship last year. It's I seen him win at Rockingham last year, and I also seen him win at Daytona. I just think he's universally a great talent, and I feel like he's got a lot of growing that he can do, and that's kind of scary for the field. The top 10, kind of majority of them, who you would consider there. You got Allgaier, Jesse Love, a Quapple, a phenomenal showing for him. Sheldon Creed, usually really well at Phoenix. Sam Mayer. I mean, just Haas Factory in general has been starting off really well. Sammy Smith. Then you got someone like Jeb Burton that was inside the top 10. I think he finished 7th. Aja finished in the top 10, I think 8th. Corday ended up in the top 10. He stayed out of trouble for majority of the day, so that's good for him. I hated to see Jeremy Clements end up the way that he did. He looked like he was going to have a really good finish in the top 10. He ended up 11th. Anthony Alfredo finally got his first top 10 of the year for Viking Motorsports, so that's good for that organization. But, I mean, you're going through the list here, like someone like a Brandon Jones. Brandon Jones is historically really well at this track at Phoenix, and he kind of struggled. William Byron, I mean, Hendrick driver comes down. You expect a lot out of him. Outside of the top 10, I imagine Mr. Hendrick doesn't necessarily like, hey, this is a failure kind of deal thing, but I'm sure it's like, wow, we weren't expecting that. But yeah, there was a lot of good racing throughout this. It was interesting. Tire obviously was the story in both of these races. I don't think anybody could argue that. But this one was a lot more tame. You only had 4 cautions for 37 laps. It was pretty much except for 2 standard cautions, it was pretty much a green flag event. So this was nothing too crazy in regards to the cautions. We see a whole different story on the cup race level. But I think Phoenix, man, I know a lot of people like the dog on it. Get it? Because the dog. Yeah, this is what you guys got to look forward to since I'm the solo guy here for a little bit. But Phoenix is a great race track. I think it produces phenomenal racing. Now, do I understand why they wanted to move the championship back to Homestead? Yeah, absolutely. I get it. Homestead's a fantastic racetrack, and there's no one that can argue that. I mean, all you got to do is look at the last few finishes at Homestead, even in the spring to the fall race. Phenomenal. So I don't really see any reason that Phoenix shouldn't be in the conversation for a championship race though in the future if they do a rotational series, because my gosh, man, even with a green flag fest like this one was, it was still a great race to watch. There's a lot of strategy involved. I mean, eventually at the end of the race, you got people showing up that you're like, oh, they're fighting for the lead, and another guy comes fighting for the lead. Then you have a guy come out of the woodwork, hasn't led any laps all day, or close to no laps all day, and then boom, he shows up and passes on like 190, passes Jesse Love, and then boom, he wins the race. So it's pretty crazy. I think the dogleg's always a phenomenal piece of racing. I think that no one can argue that that aspect of the racetrack's really cool, especially seeing all the cars fight. Got people that were able to take 4 or 2 tires, depending on what they're doing, different strategies going into that turn. I think that overall, the O'Reilly Series race was a good race. I don't think it was anything incredibly crazy like the Cup race was, which we will go ahead and get on to and move on. So, in regards to the Cup race, it was an endurance fest, and it kind of has similarities to the spring race last year. Of course, we did have IndyCar over there this weekend, so there was a little bit more people on track throughout the weekend compared to a standard NASCAR race weekend. So, I mean, that could have factored in. But even last year, I remember that we had several tire issues, couple tires blown up, and then you had the option tires and a whole bunch of stuff. And I know that Blake was kind of a little bit upset that the quote unquote option tire or the gimmick tire was not involved. Now, I wouldn't even say really upset. I think he was just like, he kind of expected it because it was there last year, and he's like, well, if there's one race that could use it, it's probably this racetrack. But I think that it showed that we don't need the gimmicky red set of tires where we can just alter the tires that we already have and kind of formulate them to the racetrack, I think we get more phenomenal racing products like this. Obviously, a lot of your racing purists will like this kind of race when it comes to tire conservation and strategy and stuff like that. But your casual audience that likes cautions, they're going to love it because you're having people pop tires, hitting the wall, yada, yada, yada. But your racing people that don't like cautions, prefer green flag runs throughout the race, and maybe a couple cautions to break it up, they obviously were not the happiest about this race because there was 12 cautions. Take 2 of those out for the stage breaks, 10 standard cautions for wrecks, debris, etc. And we said a lot of different cars. I won't say in the lead because obviously the number 20 machine of Christopher Bell was strong throughout the race. He led majority of the laps, 176 laps, which is a good performance by him. But you also seen him very disappointed in his post race because obviously he's not over there just to collect points. He's over there to collect wins because, I mean, wins you collect the most points anyways, right? Especially with the stage wins. So he was happy for the 54 points that he was able to accumulate on the day, but still, at the end of the day, he got the second most points right behind Ryan Blaney. So that's still, not winning that race cost him more points. So I definitely get it from his point of view, but he should be exceptionally happy with the way that car ran, especially how the start of the year has been just horrific for them. They've just not had a good go here lately. Everybody's favorite driver, the mustache man himself, Ryan freaking Blaney, ends up in victory lane. And that Dent Wizard Ford, I tell people if you see the Dent Wizard on that number 12 machine, you better watch out. That's usually one of the paint schemes that he wins probably the most in. Other than Menards and, well, Pennzoil/Menards, because obviously he runs that majority of the time. But not a domination fest by him by any means, but we knew Ryan Blaney was going to be great at this track. Penske, historically, all 3 cars are really good at the racetrack, and we've seen that early on. Blaney had, I believe, 2 loose wheels. Kyle Larson finished in the top 5. He sped on pit road. SVG almost got a top 10. He spun twice in the race. One was for tires, and I think one he just honestly missed the corner. Almost got a top 10. I had to drive up the field. So much adversity throughout this race. And I think it speaks a lot to the characterization of this racetrack and the racing product that it does provide because you have people that are aggressive racers that will take it 5, 6 wide going into the dogleg. And you also got people that conserve the tires a little bit throughout the run and want to make sure that they are able to make it throughout the race. So I think it's one of those things that we were just blessed to see throughout the race and product that we've seen throughout the weekend, especially with this race. I will go ahead and give you a little bit of insight on what Mr. Blanco sent me. He said that he felt like the tires obviously were the story given how much tire failure there was. But before people try to crap on Goodyear about not bringing a great tire, the reason that we had these issues is because your teams are trying to find the exact threshold of what air pressure can they run. What exact air pressure can they run to make the most speed and the most time without popping tires? And it's like a science experiment. You throw a certain amount of certain liquids in one beaker and you might end up with just the perfect concoction of whatever you're going for. But if you put one slight mismeasurement into it, it's going to explode on the table, have a chemical reaction, etc., right? And I think that's kind of what we see with these air pressure on these tires. And even like you seen Christopher Bell's team, they really experimented with them because you would look at the car and it would honestly look like the back of the tires would be flat because they'd be running them so low and letting the air pressure go up as they race throughout the racetrack. So I think that it was definitely it was an interesting experience to watch as a NASCAR fan because you got to see them experiment a lot more with the air pressures, especially with this race because they knew a lot of these drivers knew that they weren't going to have a good shot with Christopher Bell, so they knew they had to do something different. And that's why you had people like Ryan Blaney take 2 tires and Christopher Bell took the 4. And obviously that kind of mirrors what happened last fall with Denny Hamlin losing the championship because he took 4 instead of 2. Christopher Bell, honestly, give him 3 to 4 more laps on the speed that he was running. Blaney's tires to be falling out slowly or surely. I think that's great for the Penske organization to get that win solidified. They swept the weekend. Newgarden won the IndyCar race at Phoenix, which he's won before. I think the last time they were at Phoenix, he won that race. So Kyle Larson finally had him a good weekend. He needed a good weekend. Ty Gibbs, honestly, you sat down and looked at this racetrack. I would have never thought Ty Gibbs would have been competing for the win, but there he was. You know, he only led 12 laps, but they were 12 of the most important laps towards the end of the race. So, good for him. I'm starting to get to the point as a NASCAR fan. Obviously, in the past, he's had these issues, and there's a lot of things that he's said. And now we got this Chris Gabehart whole mess situation, colluding with Spire, not colluding with Spire, but take all that out of it. I know people are kind of dejected a little bit of what Ty Gibbs said about he's with the right people now, thinking that that was a shot at Chris Gabehart, but I feel like Gibbs is matured a little bit so far this season. I know we obviously seen kind of the bickering last year in the radio, especially I think it was one of the road course races towards the end of the year. Him and Gabe Hart go back and forth. I'm not going to say, you know, what most people say about this. I'll just say this as just being honest as myself here, as I'm starting to find myself not pulling for Ty Gibbs by any means, but I don't dislike him as much as I used to. And I think it's just a natural product of him growing up. I feel like you look at someone like Connor Zilic, right? I think Connor Zilic is just a guy that, at his age, he's just so much more mature, just being young in general. I think everybody matures on a different plane. And I think that Ty's just getting to that point where he's starting to make, you know, the decisions, thinking about things a little bit more. Maybe I'm just completely off my rocker and I'm just completely crazy saying that, but I don't know. It just seems like there's something that's clicking this year a little bit more. I just think that Ty Gibbs has got a really good shot this year, finally getting that first career win, breaking through. I don't know what racetrack it will be at, but hey, I definitely believe that he will get there eventually. Some other people throughout the race, Joe Logano obviously led a lot of laps, 73 laps. He looked like a car to beat. Shouldn't shock anybody at Phoenix. He's kind of good there. Got to a wreck, kind of, before he even got into his original, or his own spin out, when he kind of turned Chastain going into the dogleg, made a big mess. Took my pick of Austin Cindric out of the race, who was having a really good race. I wouldn't say Cindric was probably going to win the race, but he was finished sixth in both stages, I think. So good point stay at that point for him. But he ends up leaving with 13 points on the day. So that's the equivalent of Cody Ware 24th, just because he got into that accident and did not finish the race. I love Anthony Alfredo. I really do. I think he's a phenomenal race car driver, and I get why the Hendrick team gave him the car this weekend because of the sim racing background that he does. This is going to be a biased statement. It was nice to see someone else struggle in the 48 a little bit, because it won't be the standard like, haha, Anthony Alfredo finished in the top 5 because, you know, Alex Bowman sucks or whatever. It wasn't nice to see him getting that wreck at the end of the race. I don't think anybody should cheer on a wreck regardless of who the driver is. That's just a personal thing for me. I don't think it's something that I can personally agree with. In the moment, I definitely get it, especially like you have a driver that wrecks your favorite driver throughout the race. You're kind of pulling against them to, you know, get a penalty or something. But at the end of the day, you want all your competitors to come home safely, because everybody has fans, everybody's got families, and everybody's created equal. That increased horsepower obviously is going to make the cars go faster, but it also it brings even more tire conservation into the cycle, right? Because you got people that can lay off or they can lay on. If they lay on, the tires are going to get burnt through a lot quicker. And you got drivers that are kind of more, you know, they think about it like a Denny Hamlin who's able to progress himself throughout the weekend. And I feel like that's why you see Denny Hamlin get a top 10 at COTA, right? At the end of the day, tire conservation was key, right? Increased horsepower, he kind of conserved the tires a little bit more. SVG is probably why you see him in the top, almost in the top 10, just outside the top 11 for this racetrack. And of course, the plate tracks, man, are kind of like his his wild cards. You don't really know a lot about them. Short tracks is probably where he's going to have the most issues. But he's still, if I check the point standings, I believe he's still in the top 5 in points going through the year. So that's a great start for him. He's got a lot of races coming up, but you also got people like Kyle Larson. You got Denny Hamlin, obviously Ryan Blaney's. You got these drivers that are making great progression. So you got to imagine that he will drop eventually. But if he keeps putting on pretty good performances like he has been, I mean, I could see him hovering around the 13, 14 spot pretty consistently. And if he goes through and starts winning races, especially some of these road course races coming up, I think he's got a good shot to obviously put a great performance in to possibly make the chase easily. So I think that's pretty much all we need to talk about in regards to Phoenix. I think Phoenix was a phenomenal weekend. I don't think anybody can sit here and argue that it was terrible. Just for the crap and giggles of it, we'll look at the Jeff Gluck poll. Was Phoenix a good race? 85% yes, 15% no. Honestly, for a race at Phoenix, that's great. Obviously, popular driver wins, ups the boost of that. But another thing that I will mention, I had a friend, so obviously we gave the tickets away for the Phoenix Raceway. We had 3 people enter our giveaway, and all 3 people had a chance to get these tickets because the first person could not make it to the racetrack. The second person lived around the racetrack, but their spouse bought some tickets, so they did not need it. And then the third person obviously couldn't use it by the time that we were able to get the tickets out to them. I have a coworker that actually lives in Phoenix, around the Phoenix area, and I asked Blake, I'm like, well, since no one's able to take these tickets or find someone else that could use them, can I send them to him? It'd be his first ever race. So he took him and his dad to the racetrack. First off, if you've ever been to a NASCAR race, the self-service is pretty dookie at most racetracks. Phoenix apparently is one of these as well. He said that they got there super early, got to experience, the merchandise haulers and everything. He said, man, that race was incredibly hype. He said that's probably the most American thing he's ever seen. And I mean, he just kind of went on. He said it's beautiful. There's no sounds like it. Every American should be required to go to one of these races. So if you've never been to a race, look for your local racetrack. Ask for tickets for a birthday, Christmas gift. Take your family, take your spouse, take your best friend, take someone that you love and care about. I mean, even family or not family events, youth events, you can find pretty good tickets for like I know they do deals with Boy Scouts and Scouts of America and all that. Man, it's an incredible experience. And Phoenix is one of those racetracks. And by the time he left that racetrack, he says, I think I might be a believer. He says it was way cooler than sports, which I mean, I think NASCAR is a sport, but a lot of people are, pretty hardcore. Like motorsports is obviously just not a sport, but the amount of pressure and all kinds of the scientific stuff that goes into the racing, how much conditioning that you need, yada yada. It's pretty hectic. And when you have like the national anthem, and then you have the jets or helicopters, whatever they have flying over for the flyover is just incredibly hype. I mean, it's like the inner American, like I kind of view it as like the bald eagle coming out of your heart kind of deal thing. If you're an American, yeah, there's just nothing like it. So it was really cool to experience that secondhand through his messaging and how he was. I think that will sum up Phoenix pretty well for us guys. Las Vegas, man. Las Vegas is a phenomenal racetrack. I don't think the tires will be necessarily as much as an indicator this week, but we have a O'Reilly/Xfinity race, and we also have the Cup race. No Truck Series once again, so we will be waiting for Darlington for them. But we have a whole bunch of people at Las Vegas in the O'Reilly Series. All right. We have a whole bunch of different starts in the O'Reilly Series. We got people like Cole Custard in the 0, Connor Zilich in the 1, Chandler Smith in the 5, Carson Quapple in the 9, 19 at Chase Briscoe. Now, see, I'm kind of stupid, right? I'm like, they never bring in people from the Cup level to drive for JGR, and then boom, Chase Briscoe's racing this week. Myatt Schneider in the 30 obviously took over for Alex Bowman. I love Myatt. Rajah Caruth in the 32, Nathan Bird in the 42, Daniel John in the 52, Joey Gase in the 55, Dustin Cram in the 74, Kyle Larson in the 88, and Mason Bajir in the 91. 3 cars, yes, that's 3. 3 for Dale will miss this race. That's a lot of cars that are being open cars, so people like, Dawson Cram and Nathan Bird, people like that, we'll have a tough time qualifying in. So I really do hope, though, that they do. Cup race, we don't have any starters that are different. I mean, everybody's pretty standard 36 drivers for 40 spots. Obviously, everybody's going to make it in, so no big issues there. So, in regards to the Las Vegas situation, I think Las Vegas is one of those racetracks that when I think of Las Vegas, I think of people like Kyle Larson. Historically, he's been really good there. I think of obviously like Kyle Busch because Kyle Busch is from the Las Vegas area. That's his home racetrack. But I believe he's had some pretty good success there throughout the years as well. But along with all this is they are bringing the same left and right side pairing during the October race at Las Vegas. They use these setups in Kansas, I do believe, in September. So the left sides were, I think, run like 6 times in the series last year. So this is going to be a very consistent tire, so you won't see as much variable. The track surface of Las Vegas usually doesn't encourage a lot of tire wear. So the setups that they've kind of brought in is conducive to it, but we don't know how it's going to work out. I know that they're promoting fall off throughout the course of a run kind of deal thing. The longer you run, less tire that you're going to have, kind of just makes a lot of sense where you're not just running around on Goodyear Eagles that are staying completely fine through 150 laps where you don't even have to pit except for gas. They're trying to get away from that. I think Goodyear's really stepped up their stuff here in the last year and a half. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring to the racetrack this weekend. Honestly, Las Vegas is usually a pretty good racetrack. Anytime I think of Las Vegas, I think of the little dice sitting there in front of the checker finish line, right? You got the big dice, it says Las Vegas. It's just a cool atmosphere. Obviously, it's one of those tracks that, with Las Vegas being such a big place, it's not NASCAR Central, but it seems like it does produce a pretty good crowd throughout. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that will prepare you guys for Las Vegas, and we will move on to the Pick'em series and the hot picks, and hopefully Kent will be here with me. But if not, I will be doing them solo dolo. Also, ladies and gents, if you guys don't know that we are premier partnered with Wilkerson's Catering, the premier 100% best catering company in North Carolina, hands down, that I've ever seen. The amount of food that they produce throughout a weekend is incredible. Kyle is just an incredible guy. I mean, just the menu items that I've seen: taco bar, home style meals like you would see at Thanksgiving, mac and cheese, baked mac and cheese, which if anybody knows me personally, I'm a big mac and cheese head. I would eat mac and cheese almost every single day if I could. No, not almost. I would every day. And every single bit of mac and cheese, and it doesn't matter how much different that it is. So it'd be baked mac and cheese, creamy mac and cheese, like all casserole, whatever. The man just knocks it out of the park, just along with every other meal. So if you guys are looking for a caterer for your event and you're around the North Carolina area, his website's in our description every single week. I implore you, if you have an event that is coming up, especially if it's coming around in the fall, you better get around to them now because their spots are filling up really quickly. Just like Blake, they just had a kid as well. A lot of similarities with that. So him and Blake's kids are going to be growing up together. It's pretty cool. And we really appreciate him putting his neck on the line for us every single week, helping us out with our costs that go into producing this podcast, the subscription to be able to provide the broadcasting platform, plus also being able to post them up on a website where we're able to distribute them where you guys can hear other than YouTube. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast that is premier partnered with Wilkerson's Catering. Now on to the spicy takes And the picks, baby. Sitting here talking unmuted the entire time.
I thought you might have been. I saw it recording and I did not hear a word.
So I was talking about Blake's spicy take. He said he's going to pick Corey Day to win this weekend at Las Vegas. I've my mindset kind of goes to, well, it's probably a good racetrack for it to occur. Seems like he's got kind of a hot streak going on. Plus, on top of that, it's one of those tracks that you do gamble on fuel mileage and tires and whatnot. So it might actually be something that's definitely plausible as long as he doesn't wreck out or wreck somebody else out, you know, at the end of the
He's gonna
day.
be he's gonna be in a good car.
He's always in a good car.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? You got a spicy take for this weekend?
Man, I don't know. I should have thought this through more. Spicy take, they're racing at Vegas, and I'm gonna say no Chevrolet finishes in the top 5 in the cup race.
Yeah, I'll say.
And the only reason I don't know if y'all have talked about this when I've been gone, but I think it's gonna take them a second to kind of compensate for figuring out the design of the new just that front end on the Chevys.
Mhm.
Um, going back to 2018 when they started that Camaro nose, it was tough going there to get started, tough sledding. Well, they won the Daytona 500 with Austin Dillon, but after that, it was really tough sledding, really in any track. And yeah, I'm gonna say that no Chevy finishes in the top 5, and we're really gonna start to see just how difficult it is gonna be for the Chevys to get rolling this season. I think they'll come around, but I think it's just gonna be a slow start.
Yeah, and Las Vegas is a track that they're pretty good at for the most part, especially Hendrick seems to be pretty fast at most of the time, especially in the fall. But Penske, of course, is always great pretty much everywhere, it seems like, especially now. I say that we see a different Ford victory lane this week. I think that we see a front row machine victory lane.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm honestly thinking Zane Smith, to be quite frank with you. I've been seeing a lot of good results from him. Seems like he's progressed pretty well as a driver.
He
I would
almost won Daytona, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, honestly, I would say like Ty Gibbs wins his first race, but to me, that's not even a spicy take anymore because he seems like he's just starting to figure everything out. Like everything's just working really well for him right now.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to win Phoenix for 10 laps or whatever.
He ran well, and it seems like shorter tracks lately, something about especially Bristol, he seems to
Mm-hmm.
have it figured out until, the last stage.
Yeah, North Wilkesboro last year, he was pretty good for a good bit during the All Star race. And I
That's
know,
true.
and he won the Open, I think 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So I would say that would be a spicy take, but I mean, honestly, you drive for JGR, you're really not a spicy take, I guess, at the end of the day, is it?
Yeah. Um, he really needs to perform this season. I don't know. Is there a point? Uh, is there a point where Joe Gibbs pulls the seat from his grandson? Or
Mm, I, I don't know. I
I mean,
feel
if
like
it's all about money and he's bringing the Monster Energy money, then why would you? So yeah,
I feel like his results so far this year though have been pretty good. I mean, Coda, he usually does really well at the road courses in general. I don't know what it is about him at road courses. And I think last year in the fall was like one exception. I can't remember if it was Watkins Glen or Sonoma, but when him and Chris Gabehart were going back and forth with each other, complaining on the radio or whatever. But it's kind of a rarity for him. He's usually really good at the road courses, so he's had a pretty good start to the year. Yeah, man, I think that Zane Smith's going to end up in victory lane. I really do. I think he's going to be the one that is going to get the win for front row to start off the season. All right, we're going to move to our Pick'em series real quick. So obviously, Darlington is next week, I do believe, where the Truck Series will be making another race finally. It seems like they've been gone forever. I mean, 2 weeks only, right, since St. Pete, but still, it's a long time in NASCAR time. But to recap that, just so you guys know, Kent's still on top on the points, 135. Blake is second with 90. Austin, 75 points in third. And of course, me dead last, a solid 35 points. Performing at an optimal high level to start out the year in the truck series. Of course, I did pick Lane Riggs as my championship pick, so that should net me a few points, hopefully, at the end of the year. Austin picked Caden Honeycutt, Kent picked Mr. Butterbean McQueen, and Blake picked Justin Haley. Okay, the O'Reilly series. I have, let's see here, everybody's picks, just checking. Bada bing, bada boom. Alrighty. I got everybody. So I pick first this week at Las Vegas in the O'Reilly series because I finished last. I picked Brandon Jones to win the race, or just performing at a high level. He did pretty well early on in the race. He qualified really, really well. I think he qualified P3 and just dropped off the map. Austin picked William Byron, who finished 13th. Kent picked Sheldon Creed. And Blake, of course, picked the winner of the race with Justin Allgaier. Blake got Justin Allgaier with the first pick. So, I mean, it is what it is. So I have the first pick this week, and I cannot pick I can't pick Ross Chastain, SVG, or Brandon Jones. I'm gonna take Kyle Larson. I feel like that's just the optimal pick for this weekend. I won't be able to pick him at Darlington because he will be racing at Darlington. So hopefully I picked one of the next two races that he's actually going to be performing at a high level for. Alrighty. And then I am going to get Austin's pick because he came in. Alrighty. Austin said he is going to go with Chase Briscoe as his pick. Kent is next. He cannot pick Jesse Love, Austin Hill, and Sheldon Creed. I know he is off camera for the moment, but he said that he is going to pick Connor Silage, I think. Yes, Connor Silage as his pick. And Blake rounds out the finishing position, of course, finishing first this week. So Blake said he is going to pick Sam Mayer with his pick. So to recap the points in the O'Reilly series, Blake's on top with 170, Kent's second 130, Inman third with 100, and Austin is at 50 points. And last, Austin said he's picking Sam Mayer for the championship. Blake said he's picking Allgaier. I picked Jesse Love, and Kent picked William Sawalich. Alrighty, so now we move to the Cup Series, the big boys. All right, well, I have a first pick this week because I picked Austin Cindric. Joey Logano took out both me and Kent's picks this week. Kent picked Ross Chastain, and I picked Austin Cindric. Austin Cindric's the one that DNF'd after the massive wreck, and Kent was able to stay ahead one position because all the laps down that Chastain was. Blake came in second this week with Larson, and Austin got his first win of the year picking Ryan Blaney. So I come into Las Vegas and I cannot pick Blaney, Zilich, or Cindric, and I am looking at picking Kyle Larson this week. I don't think anything needs to be said why I'm considering Kyle Larson. This is a great racetrack for him. He's shown speed throughout the years, usually runs really well here. May not win the race, but I think that he has a good chance of finishing in the top three, which gets me a pretty good result. So that would eliminate him at Martinsville and Bristol, though, for me. So it's kind of a shot in regards to that, but hey, it is what it is. Kent is next, and he's still not back. Bubba Wallace. He says that Bubba Wallace has been performing pretty well at an optimal level, and I am looking forward to seeing how Bubba does for the rest of the year. I hate that Homestead's not part of the beginning of the year. It seems like it's just always has been, and now that they've restructured the schedule, not seeing it at the start of the year is kind of rough in my opinion, but it is what it is, I reckon. Alrighty. Blake picks next, and he is looking at Josh Berry for his pick. Obviously, Berry won Las Vegas last year. I have the diecast actually sitting right here behind me. Las Vegas win. Got all the Wood brothers on that car. But that is who he's considering. He's considering the back-to-back spring races for the Wood brothers. And Austin will be finishing up our Pick'em series for the week since he won with Ryan Blaney, and he is looking at Christopher Bale as his pick for this week. Christopher Bale was really good at Las Vegas last year. Las Vegas is kind of a track that's kind of eluded Bale a lot throughout the year, so that's definitely a good track to choose. So we're looking forward to Las Vegas, man, but even after that, I go to one of my favorite races of the year when it comes to Darlington. So from me and Kent, we appreciate you guys hopping on here and hanging out, and we will talk to you guys next week. See ya.